Right, Sam?
André, how are you doing?
I am very good. How are you?
Good, excellent. And as always, a very special guest.
Absolutely.
So we have Stefan Bust, Chief Engineer of Sales and Digital Marketing Engineers.
Yes, thank you, Sam. Yes.
I got it out there in one go. I thought I was going to mess it up. I got it out.
That was impressive, I must say.
Excellent. We can cut it right there. I'm going home. All right.
I know it's a bit of a mouthful. You should try the URL.
Fantastic. Well, Stefan, welcome to the podcast. It's so great to have you.
Thank you, Sam. André.
Really can't wait to hear about, the sales and digital marketing engineers and some cool stuff that you do with networking, which is going to come up soon as well, which is very, very innovative and very unique. So definitely want to hear about that. But like with every podcast, we will start by asking you, what's the history of sales and digital marketing engineers? Why did you start it? Where has it come from?
How far do you want me to go back?
Oh, as far back as you want to. The meatier, the better, really. I mean, that is the standard. That is the standard.
Well, if I would take it really far back into my teen years, I was quite a socialite in primary school. Had loads of girlfriends.
Nice.
Loved being out there. Suddenly, I hit high school and I started getting a bit serious. It was quite weird. And I was always into my science and mathematics. And my heroes were Nikola Tesla, Einstein, Max Planck, and a couple of others. And I really started getting into chemistry, but more into physics, and then into subatomic particles, and then into quantum mechanics. I just loved reading about this kind of stuff. And I started becoming a little bit of a geek. And I just loved it. I really did. So at the end of high school, I kind of thought, well, what do I want to do? How do I want to apply this? Do I want to only be theoretical, or do I want to apply this? And I kind of thought, okay, I'm really good at this kind of stuff, or I enjoy it. So let me apply it. And so I went into engineering and did my industrial engineering degree, 4-year engineering honors degree, which was intense. It was lots of maths and lots of stuff. But it was more industrial, so it's got to do with automation, robotics, but also production and safety systems, quality systems, Six Sigma systems, and all of that kind of jazz. So I did that, and then I went back into the loop. After that was a bit way too technical for me. After the 4th year. In engineering, they say, the first year they get you on the bus, excuse the pun. Second year, they run you over. The third year, they reverse and run you over again. And the 4th year, you just
to really make sure, yeah.
Exactly. And so I went very technical, but then I kind of thought, okay, I've got to kind of go back into the more social side. So I just took off a year. And I traveled for about a year and just did the whole social thing and just really chilled out, backpacking.
Nice.
I worked in London for a few months, and then I went over. We toured America for 6 weeks. We did something called a drive away, which was awesome. We almost transported vehicles for people, but without being paid. So we took one vehicle from New York to Chicago and went via the Niagara Falls, which Nikola Tesla, there's a big statue there, which is amazing because he created the first hydroelectric plant there. And then we went from Chicago, we found another vehicle to be transported all the way down to San Diego. And that was like 6 days via the Grand Canyon and, Santa Fe, the Adobe buildings, and then we went all the way up the West Coast, backpacking, getting lifts, and then all the way up to Vancouver.
So it sounds like you're playing a really big game of Grand Theft Auto, just stealing cars and just driving them all.
It was like that. We had like 4 or 5 cars.
Okay,
and it was all legal. Yeah. And then I went over to Europe. I stayed in Italy and worked in a restaurant in Toscana, in Tuscany, and then went up to my family in Germany for about 5 months, and then I learned to speak German, which I never had done. My father's German, but he never spoke it at home, and there I was speaking it every day, because I know a bit of Afrikaans from South Africa. It's got a little bit of the same structure, but yeah, that was mind blowing. But got to understand where my father came from and how he went to another country all on his own and stuff like that, and had to learn another language. And suddenly here I was doing the same thing. So I was really understanding his journey, which was really amazing. And that did me in good stead when we had to move lock, stock and barrel from South Africa to London. So then I did that for a while, came back, thought, hey, sweet, I want to save the earth and go into environmental management. Started a business, environmental consulting, and also health and safety auditing. Did that for a few years, and then I thought, hold on, no, this is not really where I'm wanting to go. I'm needing to do a little bit more management stuff, so I went into management consulting. Then I came out of that. Then I worked for a couple of my father's businesses, and did the same type of management kind of reviews on a couple of his businesses. Did something in exhibitions. So, exhibition building, exhibition stands. Was very creative. It was a microcosm of sales and marketing, which was quite interesting, because then I suddenly saw all these systems that came to me in terms of, hold on, here they are selling an exhibition, a marketing and sales tool, and this company's not doing their own sales and marketing themselves. And then I started getting into that, and situations changed, people moved about, and I suddenly found myself managing a company of about 30 people. And I was like, this was like my late 20s, and I was like swimming in the deep end. But that was like a 7-year massive MBA course.
That's one way of doing it. Yeah, for sure.
So I was working with production, I was working with stock control, I was working with finance, I was working with sales, I was working with a design department, and I literally didn't know that much. I kind of saw some of the systems in my mind, but practically, how do you deal with one-on-ones? How do you deal with staff? How do you deal with all of this kind of stuff? And I was like, I had no clue. I was like making all the mistakes, but it was teaching me a lot, and so I got into exhibitions, and I stayed there for a while. And when we moved over, I got married, had kids, and then we realized that we needed to move from South Africa, from safety reasons, educational reasons for the kids, health reasons, and also for a little bit of a future for them. South Africa is a beautiful place, beautiful country with beautiful people. But because of the transition it was going through, I didn't think at that stage it was going to turn out for my kids' generation.
Sure.
I think it'll get there. And Africa, I do think in the next 20 to 30 to 40 years is going to be quite a superpower, because it's just so resourceful. And then came to this country. Then for after 7 years, actually, then started working for someone else. And I thought, hey, this is great. I can only work for a certain amount of hours, and
Yes.
and ring fence my weekends. You got kids, and can you imagine working on exhibition stands on Sunday nights and that kind of stuff? And it wasn't the best kind of situation. So that was great. And so worked in that for a while. But in doing so, I was wanting to get back to the sale. Well, I was selling to marketing teams. And I've done that for most of my career now. But I wanted to get more into the nitty-gritty of marketing strategies and stuff like that. I would ask people their strategy, and we'd build an exhibition stand, and but there's only a certain amount you can go into that. And I had a little bit of taste of digital marketing, not only because of the websites, and I coordinated a website back in South Africa for this exhibition company. But what they were doing on exhibition stands were creating these digital engagement pieces, custom digital engagement pieces to attract people on the stand. So they would create a game like in the Wii, using the Wii remotes and what have you, but it would be branded for their company. And so that would be targeting the kind of audience that they were looking at. They would win a prize, they would have a look at this, and here you got CFOs, waiting in line to win that Bianca bike because that's, they're men in Lycra. They're 40, between 40 and 60 people. And they were like years old. And they were like, But the power of getting something that is really focused on that audience and seeing, the potential, because that just really cuts, and that's gamification. I love gamification. It cuts everyone down, into one level because everyone knows how to play a game. You're a CFO, you may be a line manager, and you may be a secretary or an executive or whatever it is. And, in ordinary life, it's like, I'm this and you're this and whatever it is. But suddenly when you're playing a game.
Yeah, level playing field. Yeah.
And that's when I started going into marketing, into agencies. And then I thought I'd do my own thing and bring the sales and marketing together because I didn't see that everyone was doing that as much. They have so much in common, yet in a lot of companies they are so separate. One's the coloring in department, one's the guys having a jolly, and
I can already see the hate comments. What? These are premium crayons, I'll have you know. Excellent. I love that analogy. That is brilliant. That's brilliant.
Yeah.
Excellent.
That's so interesting, and it's so like I've before starting my own company, I used to work for the marketing department, and even though it was videography, it was under that umbrella. But you could definitely see, we had, and I will take the comments, but we had this dedicated sales team, but the marketing team, we were bringing the sales in, not the sales team. We were. I'm sorry. I'll just leave that there.
I feel like we need to ask the sales and digital marketing engineer as to whether that's actually holds credence or not.
Well, it depends. I always say to people, there's always a mix between sales and marketing. You get the two, the two extremes. Selling, or pushing milk in the back of a supermarket is mostly marketing. There's no one there trying to sell it to you. And you selling a company, a hedge fund to another hedge fund company, there's no marketing. It's all about the sales. And everything is in between. There's a bit of a mix. Some sectors have a bit more marketing, some sectors have a bit more sales. And a lot of people think, there's this funnel, right? And the marketers do the top of the funnel, and then the closing is done by sales. Oh, not really. It's a little bit of a squiggly thing. Yeah. And sometimes the customer journeys come in, go out, and what have you. But if you're taking into account and you're getting the sales process and the marketing process working together and realizing actually it's not just one funnel, there's this double funnel. What happens when someone becomes a client? You want this double funnel to become a triple sales thing. That client then can refer other people, or you can upsell that client not only on service 1 but service 2 and service 3 slowly, and the sales people and the marketing team are in there together. And the more they're talking, and the more they're using the same systems, like CRM systems, or whatever systems they come up with, is crucial in that,
Yeah. So talk us through then with your business, with clients that you get on board. What's your approach now? So let's say you've got a business who's come to you and says, look, Stefan, we want to really maximize our revenue. We want to maximize our leads conversion, making sure that we get an increased number of leads, whatever it might be in that realm. How do you come at it now with with sales and marketing here?
Yeah.
So what's your approach to that? Because there are many people who do market themselves as, hey, look, I will help you with your marketing. I'll help you with your sales. There'll be business coaches out there who will, try and do all of that. But with your particular skill set and expertise, how do you come at this?
Yeah, and just to expand on that, a lot of companies are saying, oh yeah, you've got to do LinkedIn, and this is how you do it, or this is what you do with PPC, and this, if you get this right, you can guarantee all these leads and what have you. But I think it always depends on the client. And the approach we always take is we've got to understand their business, we've got to understand their objectives, what they're wanting to do, and their competitive environment. We don't have like a thing that you've got to do this and then this and then this and then this. We've got a framework in terms of looking at the strategy, and we look at the strategy before we look at a plan, and we look at the plan before we start executing. And a lot of people think, marketing, I did a bit of marketing last week. I placed an ad. Yeah, great. Well, that's advertising, and that's not necessarily a plan, and it's not necessarily a strategy. I've even made the mistake of saying, okay, I've got to do my own marketing. What am I going to post? I need to post this. I need to post this. I need to post that. Well, hold on. What's my strategy? And what goes into a strategy is we're looking at what you're trying to do, is looking at your audience, really trying to understand and profile your audience, and then looking at what your message and your value proposition is, and how that is all different to your competitors. And a lot of people say, yeah, but we're not interested in competitors because we're going to do our own thing. That's great. You'll probably land up doing exactly what someone else is doing, or you'll do something. You want to get both the best practices and also some of the gaps and opportunities no one else is doing.
Yeah.
And trying to figure out the difference between the two, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I can certainly see it doesn't take too much to imagine that people, if left to your own devices, if you're trying to be innovative and trying to develop your own USP without necessarily appreciating the world around you, naturally as people, we're all going to come to the same conclusions. Right?
Or they'll come up with something that they think is really unique and really fantastic, but
someone over there is doing it already.
Competitor 2 and competitor 7 is doing exactly the same thing.
Yes, but maybe not shouting so loud about it, but it just so happens to be part of the natural process that you haven't realised because you've not done the research around it.
And part of the strategy is doing the research, is trying to really understand the services, really trying to understand the business. And we go through, a couple of workshops and figuring out the strategy before we figure out the plan. The plan is who does what, when, and with how much, and with who, if you know what I mean. But before we get to that, we've got to figure out what the strategy is.
Yeah.
And sometimes, we work with clients and they're not too sure about certain areas. And then we would go and do a bit more research, and we would almost use those as campaigns, but they're actually research. But still within the strategy phase before we figure out. And we find clients are like, we get that. That makes so much sense, because a lot of sales and marketing can be a dark art to certain people, where there's all these companies and they guarantee all of this stuff and they're going to do this, but the companies, their customers don't really understand it. And if they don't understand it, it's for me, it's dead in the water.
Yeah.
Because you've got to get that fit. You've got to work with that culture. And I remember a famous management consulting saying that culture eats strategy for breakfast. And if there's not that culture and that understanding, no strategy in the world is gonna fly.
It's fantastic that you bring you're telling us your background is leading into the realm you're in now. It's amazing to hear the way you think. It ties in so many of those elements that you've done before: the management consultancy, the learning from your mistakes around how people think, feel, act, react, but also in the wider business sense now.
When they say that life can only be understood backwards, I hope I'm not at the end of my life, but I'm understanding more as I go along where I've come from. And I've always made the decisions in careers, not in saying, that job will pay me more, or that job will get me a better, better position. I've always gone to roles for better or for worse, which I'm now attracted to in terms of what I can learn from.
Yeah.
And sometimes that means dropping down a bit or stepping up a bit, And you've heard of that expression, squiggly careers. Have you heard of that? That it doesn't just happen like that. It sometimes happens like that,
This chaotic molecule flying around, yes. Yeah.
But it all happens for a reason, I guess.
Oh, clearly, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean that's so interesting. I mean, I was lucky enough, even though I was into videography, the thing with working with smaller companies is that you don't get the opportunity to cover some of your colleagues and you get your hands in the nitty-gritty of things, and I've had the privilege of like building journeys, customer journeys, and it was so interesting to see, because at the time I was like, I like to make, I really like to make cool videos, but without any understanding of like, why am I making this video? What's the purpose behind it? And what am I trying to achieve here? And it wasn't until I really dived into marketing and really understood, who are our personas, who are our client personas, who are we trying to achieve, what are we selling, and who's buying what. And then it'd come to the point where you got your CRM, but then you'd build a journey, and it's like, well, this email marketing, it's only going to go out to these people, but not to those people. We're going to set a different set of emails to those people. Yeah. And actually, we're going to now focus on building a video that focuses on that. And I think it was, to me, it was so important to be involved in that, because you just hear marketing and you think, oh yeah, just going to get a marketing consultant. It's like someone who's going to come around and is just going to write you a couple of LinkedIn posts every week or so. I can guarantee you, I'll post two posts on LinkedIn for you, and I'll charge you X amount. It's like, actually, no. And obviously there's a lot of people out there just because people just don't, I think, they have the wrong idea about marketing and how they're doing marketing wrong. And it's like, well, it's not just about telling me that you're going to post twice for me a week. We need to have a strategy. What are those posts going to be about? What am I going to achieve and get from those posts? And how can we monetize, and how can we really get the ROI out of that? And it was such a fascinating thing for me to go from, I just like making videos, to no, there's a reason why I'm making this video. And obviously now offering the video promos and events for businesses, it has really helped me in order to be able to offer those services, because it's a case of like going in, finding out about the business, finding out about the buyer personas, what they're trying to achieve, the strategy, and then putting all that together to build something that's for them, specifically for them. And yeah. Sometimes when we ask about the ideal client profile, or which segment you want to target, sometimes we get the answer like, well, actually, we can sell this to anyone. So building a marketing strategy for that is very, very expensive, and actually, if you had to break down all the kind of clients that you deal with, Mr. Customer, which ones would be more is more likely to buy and more profitable for you? So that maybe we can focus on first to target the marketing. It's not to say that you're going to say no to someone else coming through your door, although there is cases to say no to certain people. But, it's trying to focus that. And then, I did this exercise for myself. I was, I'm itching to get onto LinkedIn a little bit more now in September. And I'm thinking, what can I post? And then I thought, hold on. I've created this whole process for clients. I love it. Yes. I should really do this myself. And I was kind of like, I was dragging my feet. And then I started doing it. And oh my word, I started thinking, hold on. These are the kind of clients I like to work with. These are the kind of clients I'm more qualified for. Engineering companies, more technical, right? That's the name of the company. And I've dealt with a couple of those before, and I know how to, how to talk about marketing within an engineering environment and more technical, and I get those concepts pretty quickly. So I thought, well, hold on, wow, okay. If that's the audience, let me go do my competitor research. How many agencies are doing this? And there's not many. There's not that many. And the people that do, yes, they do it for engineering, but they do it for 12 other sectors, right? And then I look at that sample and say, how many of those marketing agencies also do sales? And it goes way down. And that's where the power of niche kind of targeting is great. And then I can then look at all my posts, all my channels, and think, okay, this is the kind of age of the, who do I want to work with in the organization? I want to work with the owner. I want to work with a medium-sized organization. Okay, well, how old will they be? What's their demographic? And what do they value? Are they on LinkedIn? Some of them actually not.
or they're not au fait with it. Their clients might be, but they're not.
Yeah.
And then I'm starting to look at, okay, maybe LinkedIn is not going to be my prime channel. Maybe it's going to be email. Maybe it's going to be this. Maybe it's going to be that. So it's really powerful when you start looking at that, and then do your competitor research, seeing if it's viable, and then looking at engineering. Well, okay, what sectors in engineering? What's up and coming? All of that kind of jazz. So that's the kind of power, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. But it's like that. Sometimes the mechanic doesn't have the best kind of car, but that's what I need to start working on. I need to start working on doing the processes that I work with my clients, doing it for myself.
For yourself.
But it's so difficult to have that kind of objectivity around your own work, though, right? I mean, we all like to think as free-thinking human beings. Of course, we can be objective about ourselves and how how we're putting things down on paper, but it's not. There's always something tagged to it. You are inherently emotionally tied to it in a way that you aren't when you're doing it for a client. I mean, I'm sure you are to some degree, but not in the way that would put various blinkers on when you're going through these processes, which I'm sure you found as you're going, hang on a minute, I would have totally not gone down this hole with a client, but here I am because I just had an innate desire to go in this direction that I would have thought more logically, objectively about however you want to put it.
Exactly. And that's the power of sometimes outsourcing this kind of stuff. As a business, when I go into clients and I'm asking all these questions in a very formulaic way, but a systemized way, and we discuss things, they are looking at it from my point of view. They are looking for the first time from outside of the business in, and not from the inside to the out. Because if you look at from the inside out, you say, okay, what products we have, what features we have, okay, how can we sell it? This is all our features, this is how fantastic we are. Rather than actually looking at the problem, looking at the need, and looking at how their products help clients. And that's the power of, some of the workshops that we do.
And I guess you must encounter, and I use the word must very presumptuously, but I would presume that you encounter situations where people have even maybe fixed a pain point of their own by accident, or they've tried a strategy and said, oh, this worked, but we don't know why it worked, but it did. Yeah. So we're going to try and keep doing it, but because we didn't quite know why, it's not quite working out the same way and we're not sure what's going on.
Yeah.
That must be an odd place to be in for businesses.
Well, yeah, I mean, and sometimes businesses do incredibly well, they might not understand why and how, and then they change something and oops.
Yes, and they still don't understand why that change made this, or was it that change? No, it must have been something else. It couldn't have been this. It must have been, Bob over there must have pressed the wrong button on the LinkedIn post or something, right? That's.
I mean, the second most common reason why startups don't work is that actually their services don't actually fit the needs out there, and they haven't shown how that works. And it's not it's not only a problem with startups. It's a problem with companies that slowly plateau. They get a lot of referrals, work with some of the people that they know, and they can't leverage it to that next level, because when you understand the problems and you understand the solutions and how they fit those problems, you can then expand on that and really leverage that, or leverage the second, third, fourth, fifth pains. When you look at a value proposition, you've got to look at all the pains and challenges, but then you also got to look at all the gains and the benefits. And then on the third side, what the emotional triggers are. Because sometimes emotional triggers are so important, when you're buying. Because it's almost, from the limbic part of the brain, which is the old type of the brain, that emotional side. How you remember smells and tastes so much more, and they bring emotions. That's right in the middle of your brain. It's the amphibic part of the brain, the amphibian part of the brain, and that is the emotional, and it's in the center of the brain, and it's so powerful. And it happens subconsciously. And once you're okay with that person, yes, you're keen on doing this, now let's find exactly why and what the logic is around. And that's almost, the order of decision making. But in corporate, it's all about the logics, right? But if it doesn't make emotionally sense, if it doesn't really feel right, then it doesn't happen. So if you know what those emotional triggers are, and you look at trying to figure out what the top points on all of those are, and then you put that into the into the value proposition, and filter it down into your content, your salespeople, your campaigns, you've got so much, of a better likelihood of succeeding.
And it's so that's something that we all really would love to just have a grip on, right? For all of our clients and all of our industries, we would just love to have our finger on the pulse for that all the time. And there's one example that I was recently reflecting on, just from a personal point of view. When I was looking some years back, when I was kind of investing in various camera systems, etc. There are big camera industries, there are big camera players, right? You've got your Sony, your Canon, Nikon, blah blah blah. And at the time when I was looking at this, all the marketing is like, you must go with this brand because they've got this, and this, and don't, these other ones are rubbish, blah, blah, blah. And I'm looking at this and thinking, but this one brand, they focus on, we don't care about all the gizmos. We just give you the best image. Okay, you may not get the best autofocus, you may not get the best high-end tech that enables you to do this, but yet our picture quality is the best, and that just spoke to me. For some reason, it just gripped me. And even though I tried all these things, I had them in my hands. It's like I can't shake this feeling that I want the best image. It might mean that I miss a few because I haven't got the right kits that this extra brand has. And since then, nothing will ever take me away from that until I lose. It may happen one day where I lose that emotional connection for some reason. If that brand decides actually that isn't our priority anymore. Then suddenly that could be a jeopardy for me. But until that happens, I'm not going anywhere from that brand. It doesn't matter what tech happens elsewhere. And anybody who's in the camera industry knows this. We all talk about these things as being tools because they are tools. But we love them, right? So they are our babies. And they're our babies because there's something that innately grabs us about them, how the brand has marketed it towards a certain type of individual.
So you're a Nikon fan.
So I'm a Nikon guy. Yeah.
I was just having a look around.
And
that's that's the brand essence. That was their philosophy. Why? That's their why.
Yes.
It's all about the image.
Yeah.
And it sounds like you're passionate about the image and how it looks.
And it's one of those things where even people who
touched you.
In people high up in the industry who maybe their job is to look at and critique the camera industry. Back in the day when I was investing in my own systems, they were saying, Sony and Canon, this is amazing. Oh my God, don't even look at Nikon. But yes, okay, Nikon does have the best images, but blah, 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 blah. So, okay, even these guys would admit that and say it out loud.
Okay.
But it's but no, this isn't about, no, I'm the image guy. I crave the best. I want to make the best photos. I crave that. So that's
the same with me with Apple. I fell in love with Apple, and for Apple, marketing-wise, it was amazing. They weren't about how much RAM and and all the little stickers on the laptops, and you had laptop upon laptop, and we're all kind of stuck in one store. And then suddenly you went to the Apple store.
Oh my God!
And they did everything differently. They had a whole kind of presentation. They talked about what was passionate. He wanted
different.
His vision was amazing. When he was still making computers, before the iPod, he wanted to make a computer that was like a book in your hand. And it was so far out. And he made the iPod for that experience to get people to get into that, to experience Apple, because at that stage, the Apple computers were quite expensive. And it was more, all the arty, all the designers used to use it. And he was so much about the experience. It needs to be easy. It needs to open up. It needs to be quick. It needs to be simple. You don't want the whole we need to do an update. 20 minutes later. It's none of that.
If you're lucky,
And it was all about the look, and it was about the experience. And it was about, he even delayed, I don't know if you've read any of his stuff or the history, but he even delayed major international launches because something specifically wasn't right. That opening was 35 seconds startup and not 25 seconds, you know? And that kind of, you know, he was a marketing guru. He really was. He wasn't a manager. He was a really useless manager. But he knew what people were wanting. It was quite interesting.
I think he just knew who his audience was, isn't it? Like, I mean, I'm an Apple guy because, you know, even though like I need a computer that is powerful, that can handle, you know, 6K, 8K footage, but I would never go to a Windows laptop. And it's, you know, they throw the specs at you. It's like, oh, you know, this has 64 gigs of RAM and it's got 2 terabyte SSD. So I don't care about that. Just want to open it, hear that chung, and then carry on, and then not have an issue with it.
Exactly. And back in those days, I didn't want to defrag my hard drive every 6 months. I didn't want to try back up, but only have 75% of the backup and be able to build up my backup and take me half a day to do. Here I've got Time Machine, and it would, in an instant.
But it's interesting you saying, you know, we were saying earlier about how, you know, why do some small businesses or startups not make it, but also why do some bigger companies plateau? I'm very interested to see what that space in that industry is going to look like in 15, 20 years. With different visionaries at the top, what will they look at? I think of that with every industry really, but it's you know, the same message. I don't think when I look at it is quite the same as it was maybe 15, 20 years ago. Obviously, is Apple doing well? Of course, they're doing amazingly well, but there is something that it will be interesting to just see how that message shifts.
Yeah. Well, they've dropped a big ball with AI. You know, they brought out Apple Intelligence, which wasn't really as intelligent. And they haven't innovated as much as they have. You know, people are now watching, you know, OpenAI's launch to see what ChatGPT 5 is all about. But it's interesting because I did find that, you know, after Apple did those launches, everyone else started. Google started doing that. Samsung started doing that. And now someone who's done it amazingly well actually is Canva. They came up with a massive launch a few months ago. And the kind of stuff they brought out was incredible. You know, so everyone has kind of got their moment in the limelight, but certainly the you know, the tech and AI is changing, you know, everything we're doing in some ways, but in some ways it's not, you know.
So how's it affecting you then? How's it affecting how you look at your sales and marketing?
Well, it's my industry is going to be in 2-3 years' time. It's going to be a different type of industry. Sales and marketing, especially marketing, is very highly affected by AI, and the opportunities are there quite a bit. It's not, you know, I work with AI quite a bit in some of my workflows and an assistant, but I've got the value that, you know, I'm always people first, and I always deal with people, and everything is checked, and, you know, AI assists what we do. I don't want to, you know, in the next year or two, just totally have AI bots. But I do see myself in, you know, installing AI systems into clients with the right strategies and helping them use AI a lot better. Because I do think there's going to be a lot of things in marketing that's going to be replaced by AI, or certain tasks, should I say. But it is happening at a rapid rate. It's affecting employment at the graduate level quite a bit. So big companies are saying to all their staff, don't worry, we're not going to replace you with AI.
Well, maybe.
But in the background, they're not recruiting anyone new. So it's having a bit of an effect there. But also, you know, our literacy of AI, how we're going to use AI. You know, I think when I speak to people about AI, people who are very negative about it, have used it once or twice. It didn't do everything like it wanted to. It's not at the stage, it doesn't do everything. It's not like sentient. It's not, you know, it can't be a worker as such. But there's certain use cases that you can use it. So say, for example, you've got a certain task, or you're doing a certain, you know, function like content marketing. It doesn't just do content marketing, but there's maybe 15 different tasks out of 45 or 60 tasks that it can do. And you can then start getting your content a lot better, a lot faster, and more content, and maybe even more relevant if you're doing it properly.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people saying, "Yeah, but there's a lot of things that can detect if it's AI or not." Yes, they can detect if it's really simple AI. But if you've trained the AI, or you've used it in a very, what I call authentic AI, you've used it in an authentic way with your own experiences, with your own tone, with your own research, and then created it in your own format, you can save a lot of time, but it's still yours, if you know what I mean.
The use cases are endless, really. Obviously from a creative perspective, there's that constant battle of like, can you even consider yourself a creative if you are utilizing AI to create stuff? But you don't have to use it to create stuff. You can use it to assist you with other processes. Example, I'm focused on videography. That's what I do. That's why I do what I do, because I love it. I didn't start my company because I wanted to be on emails 2 days a week. That's not the reason why I started.
Exactly.
And certainly when I started, I didn't have a workflow of like, okay, well, Monday's going to be for this, Tuesday's going to be for that, Wednesday, blah, blah, blah. And one of the use cases I have for AI, for example, is to just every Monday, I just dump everything I have to do onto AI and say, can you please just create me a schedule?
Wow.
That is the most efficient way for me to, obviously I pre-prompt it before, so I've got my own thread with all the prompts that I've done before, just to train it on actually how I want to organize in a way that works for me. But it's just the use cases. It's how you use it. And I know that on Mondays I get to my desk and I'm like, oh my god, I don't know where to start. And whilst now it's like, okay, I've got this. Here's the list of things I've got to do. Can you just please plan my week for me? And it kind of just creates an efficient way of doing that, and it, to me, just takes a massive weight out of my shoulders and lets me focus on the tasks rather than which tasks to tackle first. And it's just, to me, it's just those simple little things that would have taken me an hour to get organized, and and I would have hummed and dawed about it and been really annoyed, and then probably just close the laptop and go for a walk because I was too frustrated with the whole thing. Now it's just it's Monday at 7 o'clock in the morning, let's start. Boom. Yeah. Let's go.
And you, Sam, do you use it much?
I don't really use it in that way, although I know there's plenty of scope to do it in that respect. I've certainly dabbled in using AI to help sort my workflow in terms of images. So if I've done a big event, if I've done a big wedding, I have worked with various systems to try and essentially streamline that process rather than me necessarily looking through every one of the thousands of images from a very big event. So I thus far haven't been very successful with it though. So the caveat that I'm finding is that I can see this working very well for big companies that process lots of jobs of photography nature. Let's say you're a big corporate sending out your ex-photographer to shoot that school shoot or this, that and the other, and then they come back, dump their images, get them all done. For me as a one-man band, what I'm finding, and I did my own test with this, where I said, okay, I know there's a few photos that are absolutely bang on. There's very 2 or 3 that I know that they are just iconic shots. The trouble with them is that they may not have the best composition technically. They may, the focus may be slightly off, but that's not what makes a good photo, right? Technically it would, but I just wonder what the AI would do with it. And of course, what happened, the AI said, off that one goes. You missed the focus on that. The composition wasn't right on this. I'm culling that away. But I know, and there's one really specific example where I was at an event and I caught a photo of a dad throwing his kid in the air.
Yes.
And just before he caught him, it was almost like he was catching an American football, like over the touchdown type thing. And the composition was fine. It wasn't. I didn't quite get exactly where I wanted to get the kids and get him. His expression was priceless. Yeah, like just the smiles and just the gaze, they're looking at each other, and the focus was maybe shifted onto his arm or shoulder, not necessarily smack onto his eye. But at the time, I showed the dad the photo, and I could see him just welling up, going, "Wow, oh my god, that's amazing! Yeah, please, I'd love to see that." And of course, AI didn't care. No. It just went, "It's not this, this isn't this." And I don't know. You spoke about earlier about how AI is not this. intelligent, self-sentient being, I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to train an AI to see that in an image.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like how is an AI going to see the magic of an image?
And I think in some situations, especially generative AI, these kind of things, that use case is very specialized, and you probably need a specialist type of training and machine learning for some of that kind of stuff. But it can pick up emotions. And it can pick up sentiments. Even earlier on, when Zoom came up with some of their app store, there was some note takers when they're first coming out, and there was one note taker, and it could almost measure this, the sentiment in a meeting. If it was good, if it was challenging, if it was great, if it was converting or whatever it is. So I think there are quite a lot of use cases where it can pick up emotional triggers and emotional sentiment, which I think that case is, you need maybe a combination that it can be off a little bit from, like error wise, a little bit on some things, but it might look at, at the eyes, it might look at the emotional sentiment, and it might look at technical composition, for example.
Yeah, and it's like I say, in that respect, hence a bigger company who's just sending out photographers to do cover events and come back. Without meaning to be callous about it, they don't care about the emotion. They're just trying to get a job done, and the client just wants that job done. Yeah. It's not there's not a random dad in the corner expecting a photo of a certain type. Yeah. So for that, I'm sure it's great, and it must be game changing for them. In fact, but once the tools become as such, where yes, you talk about some tools being able to see emotion, but also understand what emotion I want out of it. Yes. So that's a whole different level, right?
And people say, but if you use AI, it's going to be the same as is. And AI doesn't work like that. Neural networks are designed to work like humans. There is this random factor that even the labs don't understand necessarily what's going to come out at the end of the day, right? So it's not a formula. It's not like a spreadsheet.
Yeah, of course. Right? Yeah.
So if you train your AI, and this is where, people say, but if it's all AI, we're all going to be the same. There's not going to be anything. But you've got your mix, what's important to you in your photography, and you might have different factors. The more you train it for those factors and for your value proposition, the more you can get AI in the future to do that. And that will be your AI. It'll be authentic to Sam. And this is where people don't think that AI can be creative or authentic, and I think it can.
I think you're right, but there is another element to that, which, and perhaps this is just a different way of thinking. But the other element I'm thinking is, okay, let's say I reach that promised land where the AI is in sync with me and understands my style. It understands the things that I like that other photographers might not. It understands what my clients like that other people's clients might not. Now, okay, we're there now. My industry, and particularly the way that I fit into my industry, is I'm ever evolving and ever changing. My tastes now and the way that my style is at this moment isn't what it was 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Now, it's not, some bits are better because we always try and improve, we always try and get, but some are just different. They're not necessarily better or worse. So that journey has happened through a certain organic process, some of it deliberate, some of it, serendipitous, etc. I just wonder what that journey would continue to look like if there is a generative or not generative or a neural net sitting behind it that might be in sync with you this very moment. But how does that evolve your journey and your own skill set?
Have you ever seen the thumbs up, thumbs down little icon below ChatGPT whenever it comes out? So it is actually designed to be feedback orientated. So you've heard of all those words like deep learning, and the deep learning is because it goes through so many parameters and comes back, and then there's a feedback system. And that feedback system, when ChatGPT, every time it comes out with a new neural network, a new model, there's hundreds of people that are evaluating it, and it goes back into the system and it learns. And it is designed to do that. So the more you're using AI, it's not like a spreadsheet and it gives you an answer. it should be used as in saying, okay, I like that answer, or I don't like that answer, or I should rate that answer. That's really how AI should work. And people think that it should give you the right kind of answer first or second time, but you need to then give it feedback all the time. It's like an assistant. And that assistant, you've got to have in a one-on-one every week and say, yeah, you're going down the department the right way. This is what I want. Actually, this month we're focusing on this. And that's why AI's got a memory, and it kind of evolves, and it should evolve with you. And I think people don't realize how much work goes in to using AI properly to get those real time savings and those real authentic voice and real good results. It actually takes a lot of work, as it would if you've got a new recruit. But now this recruit knows hundreds of thousands of encyclopedia information and has got amazing lightning fast speed of stuff like that.
It won't miss the bus to work, you know.
Yeah, but it still needs to learn, you know. And the neural networks have got this little kind of randomness about them, just like we have as human beings. If we think of one memory today compared to tomorrow, do you know that in your neural network, whenever you're remembering something, it doesn't happen like a computer. It doesn't sit there in one form. In fact, the neural network, the neural process of you remembering something compared to imagining something is exactly the same. You are recreating that memory every single time. And every single time you remember that, it slowly changes.
Which is fascinating, because we all have, and some people will be more conscious of this than others, but we all have those memories that aren't. Like there are things that we all have conjured up in our heads that are memories that never happened.
Yes.
But they are vivid and as real.
Yes. And they've evolved over time.
Yes.
And this is why when something happens, you know, all detectives know this. When something happens and there's 20 people in the room, something happens and you take a statement from every single person. It's different.
It's different.
But one thing happened.
Yeah.
So what's that about?
Yes. Oh, it's all perspective. Well, perspective is perspective. But hey, this is a totally different framing of this, you know. And so, but no, I mean, it's mind-boggling to think where that could go, but so much that could be leveraged.
Yeah, and I think it's going to happen really, really quickly. And my predictions are when quantum computing, I mean, that is evolving at quite a rapid rate, and that the power of that is absolutely incredible. And you start putting that with AI, you know, it's just, I don't know what's going to happen there, but it's just going to blow up.
And where are you finding that? So businesses and clients that you work with, where are you finding, and are you finding any interesting examples of where certain businesses are sat with, you know, the state of AI automation that they may be using or may be reluctant to use, or are there processes that you're recommending or putting into place that you're finding are yielding very good results? Have you got any examples of that?
Okay, so there's quite a lot of questions there, but the first question is I think people are very, you know, they've used it to ask questions and they've used it maybe to get ideas, but in terms of using it in workflows in companies, I think that's quite rare, actually, from my experience.
From what you're saying, sure.
So I think, you know, from how people are aware of what business model, like say, for example, agent mode or deep research, or what these things are. I mean, I'm still learning about this kind of stuff. But what I've recently done, which is just incredible in my world, is when I'm doing strategy, you know, we're looking at their competitors. And you know, traditionally I used to ask people that what's their 3 top competitors, and they'd give it to me and I'd go check that out and make a couple of notes. I'll use that in the strategy and compare it to their audience and compare it to some stuff and make some, you know, get some ideas and some direction. Now I can ask AI to look at 37 different competitors in 45 to 60 different factors and look at it and try and make inferences and what challenges they are addressing, stuff that would have taken me weeks, right? And I am working with that, and the kind of things that are coming up, clients are like, oh my word, That's amazing.
Yeah.
Here's an opportunity. Or actually didn't know that everyone is doing this kind of stuff.
Of course.
And it's not just saying that they are offering this service, but do they have a separate page? What's the sentiment on the page? What are they, are they writing in first person, third person? What's their value proposition? Do they have SEO on this? Or, and this is on a wide variety of stuff. And you can just throw this stuff at AI and look at it from a real research point of view. You can start doing your own research as a small company, if you're doing it right. But I think, again, it's about, staying at that research phase for a little bit longer than you're normally comfortable with, just to get that insight and find out that information and work with it, rather than trying to move on to get the stuff done.
Yeah.
And to sell that widget, because we've got a whole lot of widgets in in stock, right? Rather than thinking of how could we package that widget to solve that problem in a different type of way? Or how can we use it in our marketing? If that makes any sense.
No, it does. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, this was the stuff that was only for massive corporates.
Yes, exactly.
Before,
exactly. Yes.
Or
yes.
They would have focus groups, or they would have certain stuff. So there's certain research you can do, certain research you can't do, but we can do certain stuff at scale now.
It's just a different way of thinking, and it's something that I've very recently struggled with. Just creating that way of thinking, of going in my head when someone says to me, "Oh, Sam, do your market research here, there, and everywhere." But that's for big companies. How can I do that as one man? And how can I just, even if I type into ChatGPT, do this, do that? It's coming at a level that I don't necessarily I can't connect that plane. Yeah. But it's just a different way to think about it, and different and understanding, like you say, your competitor analysis, knowing that can happen. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, I use it to spy on Blindlens Media all the time to see how I can undercut him. But it's just so that's where all my leads went, Sam. Yeah, okay, yeah. So, but I just think it's great to know that that's how you're operating in your models as well, because I can see how very quickly you can take with your clients, make them lift the blanket off their eyes and go, whoa, hang on a second, there's a whole world of stuff we haven't leveraged yet, but now our strategy is starting to make sense.
Yeah. And I think there is some complexity and difficulty that people don't understand. So it sounds very simple.
Yes.
But suddenly you do all of this and you start checking.
You get stuck very easily.
You start checking some of the data and it's actually not right. Oh, hold on. Why is it not right? Okay, my prompt was slightly off, or maybe it's just not getting this. And then you ask it to do it again, but in this format or in that format, and suddenly you get it right. And there's ways of checking this. So it's not only using ChatGPT, it's using Claude, or it's using Grok, or whatever it is. And then you think, oh, hold on, wait a minute, I didn't see that. And it's like what we normally do, you don't, if you need something in industry, you don't only go to the first person out there who can deliver it. You speak to 3 people,
of course.
So there's all the all the traditional, all the real principles, the tried and tested principles still apply. It doesn't change marketing. It just brings it to a new level. Another analogy I used to make is that when spreadsheets came out, all those 20 years ago, that you could now do spreadsheets and calculations, and I can do all these accounting things and all that. Hold on, you got to use an accountant, or you got to check it. How can you trust a computer to do this? Right? Those are all the years back there. Right? Now it's like that, but 100 times fold more complicated.
Yeah.
And it's like when the internet came out, oh, do we trust that kind of stuff? And what's that about? And you can do all of this on scale. And now you don't have a proper library. Can you trust this kind of stuff? It's true.
But the answer is no, but we'll do it anyway. Essentially. That's how we've gone.
With all these advantages comes all these risks.
Yes.
Right? And, so there's still a lot of challenges around it, but it's just getting better and better. I mean, look at these images that it can produce. Nano banana, and that kind of stuff.
Talking about the other day.
Yes, exactly. Yes. Yeah, I googled that after you told me about it. Scary stuff.
No.
It really does make you sit back and think, what's going on here? Yeah, okay.
But then I think it also then it's the way I see that kind of image generation stuff. It's great for what it is, but then it's also a great tool to try and visualize certain things. I think the kind of businesses that Sam, and I'll speak for yourself, I might be completely wrong, and are looking for is people that want to show their people, want to show their human side.
That's correct.
And so there are businesses that wouldn't want to use AI generated images to start with anyway.
Yeah.
But for me, for example, for storyboarding, when I'm planning a video for a business and I kind of have this idea in mind, I used to have to sketch. I don't sketch anymore. It's like, well, can you actually create this?
Yeah.
And it's not that I'm going to use that in a final product because I'm not.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's just like, oh yeah, that's good for storyboarding. And it takes that hour of storyboarding away.
It's that kickstart, right?
That's
to
it.
go, okay,
it's
great.
just to get
There's
you going.
something for me to latch onto.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make it my own. Of course I am, because that's the process by which I work. But this is infinitely shaped this in a way that I just would have taken a long time to get to, and frustratingly got there, depleted my energy reserves getting there,
But
Yeah, exactly. And just using that critical thinking and the power of AI. Some people were saying, okay, look at all the tasks you have, take all the mundane stuff, and that's what you can get AI to save you time. Great. That's half the equation. Take the stuff that you're really good at, right? And start training AI in certain things, and you can get even better at it. And that's another side of the coin. It can't do everything from start to finish yet, right? But it can help you along the way. And you've got this assistant, which you can even talk to as you're working along.
That's it. I mean, most of the times I'm on a phone. I'm not typing anymore. I'm just like, yeah. And it's so strange because it's gotten to that point where it's just a conversation. It's really weird.
Have you used agent mode yet?
I haven't, I must say.
Yeah. Have you? No. Okay. So that's an area where it can actually create its own desktop. So you ask it to do something, and it's not only good at looking at a whole website and all the information like deep research was, but it can now interact with websites. So it can book stuff for you. It can fill in forms. It can log in for you. It can even put in the username, ask you to take over. You put in your password. It can go into platforms and do stuff. And you can see what it's doing. So it can be working like someone next to you, working along while you're doing something else. It's incredible. Fantastic. But, you only get a certain amount of credits for that. So you've got to do that for what it's worth, not for what you can do in normal ChatGPT.
I think you're spot on when you say it needs to be an integrative part of it. You need to be aware of it, and it's not. I think most people, and might be completely wrong, but everyone I spoke to, or the majority of people I speak to, especially in the creative side of things, the creative industry, they're pretty much of, oh yeah, I gave that a go and it failed. Yes. I was very lucky that 3 years ago when GPT first came out and was available to the masses, my employers at the time, they were really like pushing, and I was pushing back, but I couldn't win. It was like, well, you can do that or you can go, basically. Really? And it's like, so I had to embrace AI. And to be fair, I'm so glad I did, because if it wasn't for that, and if I was starting with AI now, I think the learning curve would have been such a big steep hill to climb that I'm actually quite grateful that that's a good thing. And I think for them, they didn't do a really good job of showing it to me in terms of, no, this is not going to take over your job. It's just going to make you, it's just going to make you a bit more efficient. And some of the tasks that you struggle with in terms of time and efficiency, it can streamline that workflow entirely.
Absolutely.
But I think most people nowadays, even now, are like, well, I've prompted this and, I got this answer. It's complete bonkers. Like it doesn't make any sense. It's completely wrong. It's like, yeah, but you haven't spent any time giving it feedback.
No, it's incredible how it's changed things. I mean, even it's just a random example. When we finish this podcast, and I take all my files and I do all the edits. Back in the day, not that long ago, I would have had to type out all the subtitles myself.
Yeah.
Doing that for a 2-hour long conversation is a thing, right?
Yeah.
So,
It's a big thing.
So thank you, AI, for generating subtitles for me. The trouble is that I still have to watch the thing through because it will sometimes say some pretty horrific things. Like, whoa, we were not having a political conversation. Why has that come into there? So yes, it does take a little bit of, but still, I mean, that's countless hours that have just been. Yeah. That's such a simple example, which would have, I know it doesn't really compare to what you were saying, but it's it just shows us that the power of embracing that wherever you're at now, and if you haven't yet, do it. The sooner you do that, the better, because it's only going in one direction, really, well, multiple directions, but in a general movement.
Yeah. Yes. And even with these things, it's also bringing up now, because people are so digital and they're doing so much digital stuff now. Some of the in-person stuff is becoming so much more valuable, and the networking, being in front of people, doing it in person, that's just, that does feel like a natural segue.
It does, I was going to say.
but I'm going to throw a curveball here, because there's actually one question I want to ask before we go into the segue.
I see what you did for that.
There it is. So there's something you said earlier which I latched onto a little bit. You mentioned in your journey, your business journey, around how you were involved with exhibitions and business and marketing and sales. And of course, we very briefly met at the Brighton and Hove Business Show, which Mike Monk, what a guy, does an incredible job with that. I mean, I was blown away by just how good that show was. I mean, we didn't get a chance to chat very much, but I'm just curious to know, with your background, standing there in an exhibition, business expo, what are your thoughts when you look around? What makes a good exhibition to you, or what makes a good stand? What really, what tidbit could you give us and people listening to, if they're going to an expo?
Well, as being part of an exhibition company, we used to exhibit ourselves quite a bit.
Sure.
And so we would take pride in doing the right kind of things on an exhibition stand, being open, approaching people, talking to people. And I remember being on one stand, and we were in mass on the stand, and it was just really incredible how busy it was. And we had another stand right opposite us, and there was two guys, and they sat behind this big counter, and they had all their giveaways, and they sat there waiting for people to come and question them about their business. And they weren't busy. Yeah. And every so often I would go over across to them, and they said, "Oh yeah, how's it going? I see you guys are really busy." I said, "Yeah, and you?" "Yeah, not so busy." And I'm like, I was gobsmacked.
Yeah, of course.
How they could be standing behind this counter waiting for people because they didn't want to interrupt anyone. They paid big money, or someone paid big money. And at the end of the day, it was quite funny. At the end of the day, they'd bring out one or two of the beers that they had, which was obviously supposedly to be entertaining clients.
Sure.
And they'd drink their beers. And I'm like, really?
That's exactly what I do. So that's like, right, this isn't going very well. I'll back that up to the booth.
And I walk stands, I walk exhibitions quite a bit sometimes.
Yeah.
I even do that for clients. I walk exhibitions, talk to people, get some leads for them and what have you, or help them on exhibition stands. And really, you should be interacting with people. If someone comes past your stand and looks at your stand, there's no reason why you shouldn't go up to them. And I'm not saying, "Oh, how can I help you?" Or, "Yes, Sam, have you heard about the sales and marketing engineers?" Or, "Are you in business for a new social marketing?" But you do what people naturally do. And it says, "Hi, Sam, I'm Steph. Hi, I'm Steph. Who are you?" And put your hand out, because everyone knows how to shake a hand. Everyone knows how to introduce themselves. I used to have a bit of a trick. So everyone's got a name tag, and they got a name tag for a reason. Yes. And there's you, Sam, looking around, and you're looking at this stand, and you're looking around, and I'd come up to you and I'd go, "Sam, how are you?" You look at me thinking, "You know my name."
How does he know me? Oh my God.
I can't remember you. And you would get a variety of reactions. One being, Yes. Yes.
Steve.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or like, oh, I don't know you. How you know? And then I would naturally, say, you don't know me, but just want to see how you're doing and whatever it is. And you just talk to people and introduce yourself, and start it naturally. And that everyone likes a conversation. And then you talk about whatever's natural at that stage, not about the discount you have on the WYSIWYG at the back, because that just puts everyone off. No one likes to be sold at, but everyone likes to buy at some stage. And
that's an interesting phrase.
Yeah.
I love that actually. Yeah.
And that's what exhibitions are. And it's quite interesting because you've got all these salespeople who are put onto stands and they're put into an environment that they're not used to. They're not used to clients coming like en masse all at once. They're used to having, a phone call, and then I've got an appointment, and then I go in there and I get served a coffee, and then, someone's got a need and everything like that. But now suddenly there's a whole lot of people, and even the most seasoned salespeople don't know what to do. So we used to also help them, train them in terms of what to do, how to do it. And you've got that natural fear, like, I shouldn't be talking to that. You've spent 30 grand to be there, and someone is coming and looking at what's on offer. Just introduce yourself. So when I would walk around these shows, it'd be incredible about how many people actually introduced themselves to me. I could name them on my one hand, and I'd go past 200 stands.
That's an incredible thought. And do you know what? I must have fallen into this trap myself in the past, where possibly subconsciously, and even players who are playing in a much bigger game than I am, where you're talking about 30 grand to go to a stand or whatever, you probably think that just by having done that, you've done it. Like, okay, I've paid this money, I'm here, I'm in the space. Why are people coming here? Well, they're coming here to talk to the businesses. That's why they're here, right? Otherwise, this purpose-built event, why else would they come? So therefore, the entitlement almost. Yeah. It's like an entitlement complex that comes in. Yeah. I'm sure. I'm happy to confess that I probably have had that feeling too.
Yeah.
Where it's a bit like, oh, hey, look, I paid good money to be here. Yeah. So I deserve to have people come to me.
Yeah. Whereas being in the exhibition industry for so long, it's evolved to exhibitions only, to slowly one or two talks, to actually there's huge conferences and streams of events, and people come through this, and sometimes they're just on their way to talk.
That's it. That's all they came for.
And then you got to be at the talk, or you got to have something to say, and it becomes an ecosystem, a microcosm of sales and marketing. Marketing have built the stand. It's the salespeople who suddenly plonked on here. They got a couple of beers, which are cool. But I've also been to exhibitions over in Germany where the some of these massive stands, and I'm talking like 50 by 100 meters, 50 meters by 20 meters type of stands.
Wow. Okay.
And they are mostly closed off because they have booked 200 appointments that they are having at the stand. It's all international, and you come as a visitor, and you're almost like, not invited almost. You can't even go in.
Club,
you can ask a question, but So you get a full variety of people.
Yeah, I mean, I do like the exhibition stuff. We captured a couple of events, haven't we, in terms of marketing events where we had like different people showcasing their product and stuff.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, and it goes hand to hand in what you were saying about AI and how people now, I think, are valuing personal relationships a lot more than perhaps, maybe not more than they used to, but it's different now.
Yeah.
Where you got all these digital relationships, therefore the relationships that you got in the real world are a lot more valuable. And I think at the end of the day, it's about building those relationships, even though you're only there for 3 hours.
Yeah.
I think people go to these things. Yes, they want to buy, but they're not just going to buy from anyone. They want to buy from someone they feel comfortable with. They want to buy from the guy. That's it. It's so important to have those connections.
Yeah.
I'm building that very quickly as well. That's a skill in itself, but it has to be there. Otherwise, you have to connect to someone's thought process as you're having that conversation. Otherwise, you'll just
or have a shared experience.
Yes.
Sometimes we used to have squidgy giveaways, and get bored in the afternoon. Someone comes past, says, "Hey," and you chuck something at someone, and they, "Oh yeah," it's just something different.
Like, dude, that was a break. What the hell? I think you missed the point of the game. Yeah.
Or I used to walk.
I've got a cricket ball over there. Let's take that. Yeah.
Well, I used to walk down exhibition stands with a yo-yo, and everyone's like, "Oh, yeah, remember those?" And you're like, "Yeah, great." And then you do a couple of tricks, and suddenly you're talking to someone. Do you know?
Oh, I love the way this guy thinks, man. I love it. It's very good. It's very good.
I'm going to get a yo-yo now. That's mine. That's finally got a reason.
I've been waiting 25 years.
It's all about gamification.
It's so true. So true.
Excellent.
I think, and it goes to show like that productivity in itself as well. As soon as you gamify your tasks, you just become a different person as well. It's so interesting. But talk us about this in terms of connections and networking. What is this?
Also, just pause. Like, how meta was that we came around to this whole like connections and gamification and back to this after? Whoa! I'm gonna have experience. It's going to be interesting analysing the edits on this. But like, how did we get from this so organically? But yes, sorry, André, I interrupted you.
No.
As a salesman, I've always liked to go to networking events. I mean, when I first started, it was again out of my comfort zone. But like GDB, I don't know if you go to Gatwick Diamond Business or...
not as of yet.
Okay, I've been doing that for 12 years now. That is a certain network. But I've tried a lot of other networking events and stuff like that. And it's just, I could network any day of the week. It's just... A lot of people started and they think, "Oh, I've got to take my business cards. How many leads am I going to get? Is everyone, anyone, am I going to get an appointments?" And it's not about that. Again, it's about connection. And you go to these events, you connect to someone, you might connect to them about AI or about Padel or about some game or something that's happening, and you got that connection. You go back again, they know you know them for a couple of months, and then they might at some stage know someone who needs a bit of sales and marketing, and they know someone, but they'll never do that the first time they meet you. And people expect this, and they get nervous because they think they're going to sell. So a lot of the newbies come around saying, "Hi, do you have any fleets? Because I do fleet sales. Here's my card." And you're like, "Sorry, what's your name?" Right?
Or you surely looked at the name tag? No, isn't that your thing? Excuse me, Sam. What fleet?
You'll get people coming around with the attendee list and coming and looking at your badge, going, "No, it's not the right person I want to speak to." And I'm like,
actually, that's true. That does happen. Yes.
How rude. It's just like, you've got to speak to people if you're in the line. I take the approach that however I come into an event and I'm speaking to someone, I might be making coffee next to them. I believe there's some reason why I'm doing that. And some reason, that serendipity. I just got to find it. It might be something that they know, a podcast or something that's interesting that I like, or they're into vegetable gardening, or they like woodwork, or like whatever they like. There's something about that, or they might introduce me at some stage, or whatever it is. Or I might be able to help them. And I also go into it thinking, how can I help other people? Not from my services, but could I introduce them to someone or get to know them? And it becomes fun. It becomes a game, And I really do enjoy networking. And in COVID, just before COVID actually, I realized that I was networking, getting more leads from people who were in the associated sector or who were marketing to the same people as I was marketing. So I created something called the Marketing Club, which was people in the marketing field doing complementary services. And I found about 6 or 7 people who I knew, and I brought them all together, and we had a ball, and we networked every month. I didn't have to phone them individually every month to see how they're doing. It would be an all-in-one, And in COVID happened, and we started having webinars together. We brought all of our own clients together, and we had webinars about what we did, and that was really good. So I really am, networking. I love networking. I love meeting people and getting to know people. And then I kind of thought, I want to do something that's a little bit different. That's my own networking event. And my South African friends are in South Africa, and they're big into paddle. They have been for many years, and I think, I want to try paddle. Maybe I can do something with paddle. And I actually met someone at GDB who was starting a paddle hub. And I'm thinking, that might be an interesting idea. So I put 2 and 2 together, and I said, well, you want to promote this paddle hub. Why don't I create a network, and we come in, and
I feel like only Steph could put 2 and 2 together and come up with that, but well done. That's all I'm going to say.
And and he gave me a good deal, and we started marketing it. It took a bit of time, so I started in October, November last year, and by the time February, we still only had 4, 5, 6 people come, which was only enough for 1 or 2 games.
But dedicated people, right? Like people who are sold into it.
Yeah. But some people who had never tried paddle.
Sure.
And we had so much fun. I kept on thinking, this is not working. There's not many people. But actually, we had so much fun every single time. I just wanted to go back again and again.
Yeah.
And February, March, April, it started doubling and doubling and doubling. And now we've got like 4 or 5 courts at once with a whole lot of people. And it's like, and it's doubles,
Yeah.
And it's such a nice way of breaking the ice.
Yes.
Playing a game, having a shared experience, having fun, and introducing yourself. So what I do in the beginning is I always say, okay, pair up with someone you haven't met before. Introduce yourself for a little bit. Once you've done that, now that's your pair, and we play games against each other. Every time you play against another pair, you introduce yourselves, get to know yourselves, and then start playing. And people are just like, they love it.
Fantastic. Yeah. It's great to hear how much that's grown as well.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And so we've gone now, actually, September, we're having 2 a month. So we've got enough, because one in August, I thought August was going to be slow, but it got sold out 3 weeks before.
Jeez.
So, yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Excellent. So where do you see that going? What's the next step for Padel Networking?
Well, I don't know really.
Niche, isn't it?
Yeah,
it strikes me as like, it feels to me a bit like, not that I've ever done this, but it feels to me like what going and playing golf with your corporate buddies was like.
Yeah.
Like, okay, well, I don't know these people, but here's the golf thing.
Yep.
Well, as long as I can make a decent account of myself and not just swing and throw the thing into the trees, we'll have a conversation and get to know each other hole to hole. Similar sort of concept, right?
Exactly, except there's a bit of a difference. You can make a good analogy because it's a 4-ball. So there's 4 people in one thing, and they go around 18 holes.
Yes.
Right? This way, you're a different 4-ball on each hole.
On each one, yes, correct.
So you get to meet most of the people there. And what's fantastic, which I really enjoy, it's just like, I love it. My heart sings when I see all these people come together, and they're all having a great time. They're all getting to introduce each other, from a business perspective. It's about sharing what I love about networking and about business with everyone else. And it is all face to face. AI will never touch that, And it's fantastic. And I think for me, it's part of just creating communities and outreaching and being a little bit known and just experiencing, stuff. In a lot of networking events I go to, I might know 20% of the people in the room. With this, I know 100% of the people, which is kind of interesting. And I'm learning. I'm meeting people all the time, so that's incredible. So you got to try it.
I really want to. In fact, was it today or yesterday you sent an email out about the September dates?
Yes.
I think there's one on the 23rd. I want to say 25th. Yeah. So that one I'm looking at with a keen eyebrow raised. But so this is the question I have for you then, which I think we spoke about before, but just for the benefit of everyone. I've never played paddle before.
Yeah.
Bit nervous about that. Should I be?
No. Have you ever played in your life tennis, badminton, squash?
Badminton, or table
table tennis. then you'll be fine.
Yeah.
You'll be absolutely fine. And it is designed to be easy.
Yeah.
You can't dominate the game by hitting it hard too much because it's not so easy to control the ball.
Okay.
Right? And it's played in doubles, so it's quite social. I've played something called pickleball. If you've never ever heard of that.
I've heard of it. I've never looked at it, but I know it's growing in popularity.
America's always got a different version of every sport.
Yes, that's true. Yes.
They got racquetball, they got football, American football. But pickleball is played on a badminton court with this massive plastic ball, which looks like a huge golf training ball, and it's on a wooden floor. And you have to really go down to pick up the ball, and I find it hard on my back. Whereas this is a foam racket. It's a normal tennis ball. The scoring is tennis, so it's very easy. And what we have Alan from Strategic Padel, and he takes one court with everyone who hasn't played before. And he has a knockabout, and he shows them all the rules. And you have a bit of a knockabout. You show how to serve, because you don't serve overhand; it's all underhand. So it's all really, really easy to pick up.
Gentle in terms of technique isn't necessarily a huge thing. Yeah,
and that's why it's so addictive. And it's the fastest growing game in the UK.
Wow,
and in the world, really.
And one of the fastest growing networking groups, it seems. Well, I haven't done my market research to say, but I imagine it's probably up there.
Yeah, no, it is, and they're popping up everywhere, and they're really hard to book. So in this way, you can get, you can get a place.
It's just become really big, isn't it? Like, over the past couple of years, it's just exploded everywhere. Like, I've got family in Portugal, and all of a sudden, a couple of years ago, it's like, oh yeah, paddleboard. It's like, what?
Yeah.
What is that? And then it's like,
but you've just said it, and a lot of people say that to me. They say, "Oh, I've got to try this paddleboarding."
Paddleboarding, don't bring a board, and definitely don't bring speedos.
Exactly, it's not paddleboarding, but people see the racket and bowling.
The question for you is, as a blind person, how do I fit in this networking group? How fast does this ball go?
How's your handball coordination?
Hey, there's some coordination.
That was the right question to ask.
Can I just come and network?
You can, because there are some people who do, actually. But yeah, it's. I think it's. Yeah, I mean, at any level you can come and play. It's really easy. I think it is slightly more difficult if you've never played a ball sport ever.
Yeah.
And we had someone who hadn't, and she did okay. But it is, if you've got that, I mean, I've played tennis like 20 years ago. And I picked it up very easily.
I guess it's one of those things where, the apprehension for some people might come of like, if I'm rubbish at paddle, my business is rubbish too, as it probably was back in the golf days, right? Yeah, so if I'm rubbish, if I can't make an account of myself playing golf, it must be that I'm terrible at business or whatever it is. So long as there isn't a correlation that one assumes, that's fine.
Well, don't worry, you don't have the brand all over your head. You know what I'm saying?
To be fair, the next time we'll just, we'll get to grips a bit. André will be in the corner filing a disability lawsuit.
Where's the accessibility? No, I mean, in all fairness, and everyone in my group, in terms of family and friends, they all find it very annoying because somehow I have this ability to be quite good at table tennis, snooker, pool, tennis. I never understood why.
Well, you say that, but we know secretly that he's actually the Daredevil. Yeah. So if anyone knows Marvel, they base Daredevil off André. That's what he does at night. He's a vigilante that goes around.
Pretty good at this kind of stuff.
Just fighting crime.
Fighting crime. Yes. That's the main one. It might be the wrong crime, but
no. But you're not a lawyer though. The Daredevil is a lawyer.
Yeah, yes. No, I don't have the right skill set for that, or the brain. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, as long as you're fighting crime and not doing the crime, that's all. That's fine.
Fighting crime, dealing with crime, making crime. I mean, it's all crime related, isn't it? Portuguese mafia.
Excellent. No. So, what sort of a mix of businesses do you get then at your Padel Networking? What's the kind of makeup?
Everything from accountants to lawyers to body paint places to physiotherapy to everything.
Any big success stories? Any people that you've seen get some very good collaborative work together? Anything like that's happened yet that you've seen or heard of? Or
no, not necessarily, but I've just got so much reviews about it. People saying it's such a nice way to introduce themselves to other people. I think some people who don't normally like the hardcore kind of networking really do well with this because it's something else to focus on. And get to know people, I
mean, which is the main point of what you're talking about. Like this whole, so much of our conversation that has led up to this has been about those connections and building that. It's not, it isn't going there with your attendees list and thinking, shouldn't I speak to this person? It's actually, we're all, as we said right at the beginning, you're on the level playing field. Everyone's the same here. Yeah. Let's have fun with it. And
exactly
as when we were growing up as kids and doing team sports, same sort of game, right? So it builds that camaraderie and people in a different way.
Yeah. And everyone knows how to play a game.
Yeah.
And it's fun and it's that level playing field. Yeah.
I think it just takes that awkwardness out of the equation, doesn't it? I feel like, sometimes if you were to analyze me from like an exterior level and be like, okay, who's André?
Daredevil of note.
Who's Daredevil? Anyone that knows me thinking about me going into a networking group would be my worst nightmare.
Really?
I would try my hardest not to attend anything like that. And then yet, nowadays, I look forward to go to them. And it just kind of, you go in and you don't go in with that approach of who I'm going to sell to today. You just go with like, oh, actually, I'm going to see Sam there. we can chat about this. I'm going to see Will there. And so we're going to talk about that. And it's about those connections that actually really, I feel like Fridays to me, which is one of my networking days where it's really early in the morning, I come out of that and I'm ready for the day.
Yeah, really energizes you, doesn't it?
It's strange. It's like in looking at me, it should be something that drains me, but actually does the complete opposite. And obviously, as soon as you involve like a game,
exactly. And from the outside, it seems like businesses are dealing with businesses, but from the inside, it's humans dealing with humans. From a sales point of view, from a marketing point of view, it's not B2B, it's H to H.
And it's something we forget. I mean, as much as we mentioned this in other podcasts, I forget who with, but it's come up a couple of times, different themes of, we're more connected but more isolated at the same time. And we can talk a good talk. Only one of us can talk a good talk about the connections, it's about the human factor, blah, blah, blah. But let's face it, we are all doing Zoom meetings. We are all now at the end of that WhatsApp message that says, oh, we're going to have that Zoom meeting in 5 minutes. It really wasn't that long ago in history where it would be, okay, that meeting's over there, I'm going to go and drive there. In that half an hour that I'm driving there, I'm processing my thoughts, I'm just getting myself geared up, ready, cool, done the meeting, I'm now driving back, having about half an hour to process what I've just worked with. But now it's Zoom meeting, this.
Yeah. Or email.
Yeah, and we may be connected to more people in so many ways that we weren't before.
Yes.
But we aren't. We are actually more isolated. Yeah. And things like this, where, like you say, AI can't touch this. A Zoom meeting can't touch. You can't paddle over Zoom, right? So, well, who knows, one day. But it's one of those where it's so organic and it's so real to actually what we need as human beings to function. That, I mean, I imagine the hardcore people, the people that were going to your Padel Networking at the beginning, those 5 and 6 people, when you were thinking, this isn't really, is this working? Is this not going anywhere? All they're thinking is, wow, what a great time this is. And this is just like us lads and ladies or whatever, just shooting the breeze. And how refreshing that is. I don't get to do that in my day or my week or my month. So I'm just on the grind,
And as you say, we're in Zoom to Zoom to Zoom, and we've gone nowhere. We're sitting. And, the sitting is the new smoking.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what I'm finding, especially in the last few years, is I'm going for more and more runs, more and more swims and cycles. And it just turns the cog in my brain. And the same thing with paddle. You're there and you're processing so much more. Going for a walk, going for a run is so much more important these days. And it's actually increased my cognitive ability massively.
I mean, there's no doubt that it's like really deeply connected, isn't
Yeah.
it? The physical side with the mental side of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's impossible, isn't it? Nowadays, with the way things work and how efficient we expect it to be, you end up just sitting all day,
Yeah.
and you get to a point where it's like, well, I can't take 10 minutes to go for a walk, or I can't go, you know, if you almost feel bad for it.
Yeah.
You know, I find myself working a full day and taking a lunch break where I should normally take an hour and go for an half an hour walk. But I don't do that because I feel like, I'm actually being very inefficient by going for a walk. But actually, it's exactly what I need.
But this is where the AI and human come together. So
Send him for a walk.
Get his steps in, mate. Go on. Yeah.
No, I'm being completely serious. When I wake up, for 5:30, that's my grey matter time. From 5:30, 6:30, 7, I do my most important strategic work. I then, because I've been sitting for a while, I then go for a run or a walk. When I'm going for a run or a walk, I get the ideas. Things now start falling into place. I stop. I take a quick voice note. I dictate something. That's AI already. It's now, I've got to speak to that person. Got to email that person. I'm just dictating. I could be do 4, 5 on a walk.
Yeah.
I'm not going for a walk to send emails. I'm going for a walk to kind of defrag, and in defragging, I'm finding ideas and I'm putting it down. And it's not to say, you got to take a break mentally or whatever it is. It's not about taking a break mentally. It's about working mentally in different ways all the time. I don't know if I'm a big believer in meditation and in Buddhism in terms of that kind of thought process. And meditation is not about not thinking about things. It's not about clearing your thoughts totally. It's actually about concentrating your thought on one thing and keeping it there. Because our brains are not designed to switch off totally. They're not designed. Even in deep sleep, they vibrate in a certain way and everything gets distilled. And then they go through dream zone and then they do the distilling. They're always doing something.
It has to do that for you to actually get a sleep.
So it's you know, it's about doing different things in different ways. And that variety, I mean, that's what we're about. We're about variety. And we've got to just embrace that and do that all the time. You can't be on one task for 4 hours. It's just impossible. And if you are and you try to be, you're just not going to be efficient. No. You know, you need to leave it go and do something else and then come back to it and think about it and
with
walk around.
fresh faced or whatever.
Yeah, so it's probably one of those takes on like multitasking where people used to say, you need to multitask. And actually, I'm a great believer that actually multitasking is not good for you. You end up just not being efficient in 2 tasks now, or 3 tasks. You might as well just focus on one. Maybe that's just me, but
that's true.
But that's it.
They've proven that you can't actually multitask. You keep on switching. And have you heard of the cost of switching, especially with social media? Every time you switch, it takes a little bit longer to get back into things.
Yes.
And social media, when you've got something pinging, actually depreciates the amount of time that you can then deep think or do deep thought work or deep work. And the more you're switching, the more it lessens your ability to do that. Because we can only do that for about half an hour to 45 minutes. But nowadays with kids, with social media, they can't do 15 minutes. You know?
I mean, even for us, I'm not sure, maybe this is just my personal experience as well, but since, I've joined social media when Facebook became mainstream in basically 2011, 2012, and I'm not sure if it's age or if it has anything to do with social media, but I'm unable to be as focused as I used to be.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure, so we're talking about these kids, but actually that also has an impact on us as adults, as long-term users of social media. And I go through phases of having to delete everything just because I get to a stage where it's like, actually, I can't focus now. This is taking too much out of my brain capacity. So even over the space of 14, 15 years, I can actually tell a decline on my attention and how I have the ability to stay focused for, how long I can stay focused for.
Because it's wider than the social media thing, though, isn't it? I mean, that's a very good example, but it's just the world is different. You know, the way that, you know, we, like we were saying before, we have to be on the end of our phones. We have these things pinging off. There is 1,000 different ways of being contacted. There's I've got these things I now need to look after. It wasn't a case of I would get the odd email every day, and that would be my thing that I need. That would be my admin, right? Now your admin is interspersed with your real life, with your outside life, and it's so hard to compartmentalize it because there are 1,000 different compartments suddenly, rather than just the one or two that we used to have. Yeah. So I mean, our attention is stolen from us on a daily basis.
I think if we're aware of, that risk, you have to manage it. Yeah. You can manage your notifications, but even in your diary, as you were talking about, spacing your diary. I know that I work with deep thought in my mornings rather than my afternoons. Afternoons, I can be going between meetings and phone calls. That's fine, because my brain's not working as much, but I can do that kind of thing. That's just how I'm wired, right? So I know that if I'm working on something and I think, I've got to phone the insurance company, I'll write it down and put it to the side. Continue, and focus those time. I've got to do that. Put that to the side. And even though it might be important, it can wait until lunchtime or after lunch. And the more I do that, the more I get stuff done in the day. If I have to bring something up that I think of, I can do that, I'm already switching my whole focus. And I'm doing bits throughout the day, and I'm finding actually that whole day I didn't do really a lot of proper work. And that's the thing. If you know how you work and you realize that these things take time, it can wait. You can take the world off your shoulders. It will manage itself. If you look outside, it will still keep turning. It does not need me, and it can wait for a while. And I think if you're disciplined in that and you don't allow that to put you off course, you can be so much more productive.
That's it. I think to me it's more the thought of everyone now, everything is just so instant, isn't it? You get a WhatsApp and people expect you,
you get 1 10 minutes later saying, excuse me, did you not read the first one?
Where are the blue ticks?
I hate that. What happened to I'll send a letter, I might not get a letter back. Or
you never sent a letter on your life.
I've sent letters in my life before. Or an email, It's like, what is this expectation of people like, I sent you a message about this, therefore I expect a reply instantly.
Oh yeah, do you have a quick moment? It's not just a quick moment. It turns out to half an hour.
2 minute chat.
It's not just it's just not. That's it.
And as a freelancer, when you're selling your own time, and
but
time
you feel
is
like
money.
you have to, though. I feel like especially with clients, if someone sends me a WhatsApp, because that's still for some reason the main channel of communication, I don't know why, it's like, you kind of feel like I have to reply to this now, and it's like, actually I'm editing right now, but then you get that ping, it's like, can you do this?
No, you got to you got to switch it off, detox.
But hey man, that's the reality. I mean, it happens all the time. I completely relate to that. Yeah, absolutely.
That's it. But that's why we need to go into events and networking events face to face to
whack some paddle around.
That's it. Where it's like, actually, no, I can't talk to you right now.
I'm not on
my phone with me.
I'm not in court. I'm on a court.
Yeah, there it is. Although when the authorities find out about Daredevil, I mean, I ain't got enough money to pay that bail, buddy. That's what I'm going to say.
No comment.
Fantastic. Well, Stefan, it's been amazing having you here. And I guess one of the things that we always ask everybody in this podcast, as the final question, if you like, is where are you going with your business? Your own ambitions. What's the next step? You've told us where you've come from, where you are now, some of the great things that you're working on. What's the next stage?
Well, I want to take some of the processes that I'm developing. I already work with quite a virtual network of freelancers around the world to do what I do. And I want to take sales and marketing engineers, and I want to make a franchise out of it, some kind of thing that it's a repeatable model, that people in my situation, more technical thinking, but also creative, who who have dealt in sales and marketing can take this business model where we can get leads. We can, there is a process going, and I can repeat that. And I've probably got another 10, 15 years to do that. And then I'd like to sell something like that. So
Brilliant.
That's where I'm going. Where Padel's going to take me, I'm not sure.
What was your oyster with that one? Yes,
But you know what?
Yes.
You never know what happens.
No.
And
quite right.
I mean, people already know me on LinkedIn as the Padel Man, not the sales and marketing man. But that's going to change. I'm going to do my own marketing soon, a lot more. And then we see where we go. But thank you very much. It's been really, really fun and really interesting talking.
It's been. I don't know about you, André, but this has been one of the more. It's really been very, very thought provoking in so many aspects. And I mean, I said this already, but I love your thought process, Stefan. I love the way that you take us on journeys with all these elements of what you're doing. There isn't just a straightforward answer in a good way. It is there's an organic way that you think about everything. Your entire journey from when you started to where you got there. You talk about this squiggly career path.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of that sounded quite maybe subconsciously intentional. I mean, and consciously intentional. You were looking for opportunities to learn. You're always looking for the job that shows you something new, that challenges you in a different way. And we were talking about your ambitions going. It all just fits. It's a very authentic. I've used it again, André. I've said it again. I've said the word authentic again. I said I wouldn't do it, but I've done it. So, but it's just I love that organic flow, and it's inspiring. It's really inspiring to hear that.
Well, no, thank you. I always enjoy talking to people like yourselves, and I learn more from when I speak to people sometimes than when I read or when I hear some stuff. So it's it's been good. Thank you very much.
No, thank you. Thank you for coming on.
And if we want to find out more about you, sales and digital marketing, or the Padel, how might someone go to do that?
So search sales and marketing engineers. I'm on LinkedIn, Stefan Buss, BUSS. And you can find me there.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
And for, I suppose, for anyone wanting to join the Padel Network, how can they do that? And when's the next events coming up?
Well, I'll do 2 a month now. So, a Wednesday and a Thursday. So this September is the 10th and the 25th. But if you look me up or look under SME, which is Sales and Marketing Engineers. So you work with SMEs. Nice. See what I did there?
There it is.
Nice. Did you have to hold the CEO for that as well? CEO, sorry. How does that work?
And search for sales and marketing engineers.co.uk. There is a button on SME networking. So the SME Padel Networking Club.
Excellent.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Right.
Brilliant. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much for
No
coming
worries.
on.
Thank you.